Show with Derek from BB Can 6. You guys, we have so much to talk about on this show, but let me remind you quickly that if you want to see any of our past shows back with Kayla, with Paris, with, for the love of God, everybody, they're all over at yourrealityrecaps.com/bbcam. Not just for this season, but for the past 6 seasons. You can check out all of our shows over there. Of course, you guys are watching live right now on YouNow, so make sure you become a fan here so you're alerted when we go live every single night of the week. We have, Johnny tomorrow, and we are having Will on next week. So that is exciting. Of course, we're bringing you guys tons of content for BB20, which starts in about a month. More on that later. Of course, if you want to help support our shows so that we can bring you so much amazing stuff for Big Brother 20, consider becoming a patron. yourrealityrecaps.com/patron. You get access to the patron-only Facebook group, prize giveaways, and the after shows with the house guests like Derek tonight. Of course, you can always do a one-time donation at yourrealityrecaps.com/PayPal. And by the way, you guys are loving them. So the number one fan on this show is also winning a 5-minute Skype call with Derek. You guys are gonna love it. So, without further ado, let's bring on the man you all want to hear from. It's Derek!
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Derek, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. I'm just getting back into reality here. It's so nice to be home, being out in the sunshine, being able to do my own thing, not controlled in the seclusion of the Big Brother house. So it's very, very good right now.
Okay, I love it. I love to hear that you are doing well. Let everybody know one more time really quickly. If you guys want to start submitting your questions, you can go ahead and do that with hashtag YRRLive over on Twitter, or you can leave them in the chat room. We are collecting them in the chat room as well. Spread the word. Let everyone know that we're live. Square, megaphone, up arrow so that everyone knows we're live right now. And
let them know.
Yes, and become a fan so that you are alerted when we go live, like I said before. Now, Derek, I have got to get something out of the way for the love of God.
Okay.
Everyone is about to lose their minds. Derek, why do you want Kayla to stop touching your fucking leg?
It's the iPod. Touching my iPod. My iPod always was dying. People kept listening to my music, and I just wanted to be alone and listen to music. Sometimes you just need some alone time in the house as much as I like somebody.
I have to say, Dancing Amy, who does our shows, you were right. Dancing Amy people were debating on it and what it was, and Dancing Amy said it was iPod. We heard it. He said it, iPod. Dancing Amy, you are correct.
Dancing Amy, you were right. Thanks for the trust in me.
Dancing Amy had the trust in Derek. I'm so glad we got that out of the way. Nobody needs to ask it 9,000 times in chat now.
We got it. You saw it here first. It's out of the way.
It's out of the way. So, Derek, let's start getting to some of the serious questions from this season. And
okay.
The first one is going to come from me.
All right.
What was up with the pink suit, Derek?
I was going to ask you about that because I saw some kind of a tweet that this Eric guy put out on Reality Recap saying he thought it was awful.
Yes,
I think it spawned from the pink hoodie that I wore all the time in the house. And I think you're the only real hater that I've heard. I heard it got more buzz than Arissa's gold dress. I'm not going to lie.
Did it?
I loved it. Yeah, that's what I heard.
All right, Derek, I don't want to shade you now. But I feel like maybe I have post-traumatic stress from the pink underwear.
Really?
Really, Derek, I might have told Kayla yesterday she only has 2 jobs.
What are
Just
those?
to buy you new white socks.
Yes.
And she has to throw away the pink underwear.
I'm okay with those.
Oh, you're okay with those?
I'm okay with throwing them away. I like change. I'm okay with getting rid of socks and get some fresh underwear in the mix.
In all seriousness, Derek, do you know what I think you should do? I think you should do the, I'm not even kidding, or maybe this now sounds gross that I didn't think this through before I said it. I was going to say, what if you auctioned off the underwear for charity?
Oh
but
my
now
God.
I realize that kind of sounds a little, whenever you guys have a staple something on the show, I always tell them you should sign it and give it away for charity. It's such a big part of you in the season. It's a great way to raise money for charity, but I guess.
That's true. But maybe my fedora. Everyone loved the fedora. I mean, Paris wore it first, and then Maddie, and then I did. So it's kind of the traveling hat of the house.
Right. I kind of have a feeling I know who would win it if you did it, and then that's a little frightening. You don't want to go there,
We'll
Derek.
just leave that.
Just leave that, Derek. Okay, let's start getting to some of the questions. You have a ton of them. These are all from your fans, so I want to get through as many as we can on this show.
Do
But
it.
first and foremost, the question that I think you get the most is, if you had won the final HOH, would you have really taken Kayla?
You guys don't believe me yet? I 100% would have taken Kayla. She was my best friend, my number one. I like her so much, and I wanted to be able to prove to everybody that, above the lies and everything in the house, that you can find trust in one person, and you can see that through all the way to the end of the game, not only in Big Brother, but in real life. So I wanted to prove that you didn't have to cut the Showmance to win. I wanted to prove that you could bring the Showmance to win. I knew I had the jury votes had I brought Kayla, so I definitely was going to bring her. No questions asked.
Now, do you believe I said all along Kayla was going to bring you? Kayla always said, oh, well, let's start here. Have you watched any of the show back yet?
Oh, yeah, I've watched all of it.
Okay, so then you know Kayla's storyline was, I'm cutting Derek, I'm cutting Derek, I'm cutting Derek, he's getting cut at the end, to which I said, she is never cutting Derek, ever. So
I
what
know.
do you think? Do you think she was going to cut you in the end?
She was almost convincing me when I was watching the show that she was, but I don't know, maybe if you watch live feeds, you would know a little bit more kind of how deep our connection really was. And we talked all season long about, if the two of us get to the end, that's winning in itself. We can look at the jury and be like, the two of us evicted everybody except for Allie. We can take the trip to Europe together and all this kind of stuff. So I really, truly didn't believe that she would cut me. But there was that little sliver inside me that said, you know what, even when I was having that roundtable discussion with the previous winners, I was like, I know she's a huge super fan. I know how competitive she is. I know she's wanted, like, this is her absolute dream, not even to be on the show, but this is her dream to win. So when I, was telling myself that, I'm like, would she really do it? Because I thought, either way, if she would have brought Paris or me, there was a tough chance for her to win the jury over because of the bitterness. So I was like, would she really take that away from me? So I feel like she wouldn't have, and that's what I want to believe. But it's a tough one. She was just so convincing in saying it, but she was also playing the game at the same time, and I know she was gaming so hard because she is such a sweet, amazing, beautiful, bubbly girl. And she just has this side to her where you're like, oh my God, you go there. Like,
I gotta say, she said on the show yesterday, she was probably never cutting you ever.
really?
She finally admitted it, that
Did
she
she?
was probably never. She didn't think that she would have the heart to cut you when it came down to it. She wanted to, the gamer
Yeah.
side of her wanted to, but she probably couldn't.
Well, I'm happy to hear that because I go back and forth with it. I said the thing, I was like, Kayla, you're dead to me if you cut me. And we had that conversation in the house. We looked at each other and we're like, hey, this isn't just game. This is personal too. And if we cut each other, like, I'm not going to be talking to you after the show for quite a while. Like, that's a really low blow. So we basically said that to each other. And, I probably would have seen it through. It would have been tough for me to come around and be like, hey, we promised on this kind of a level. And with us, it's different than it is with other people in the house.
Do you really? Well, I mean, I guess you really think it because you said it. You really think that if she would have cut you, you wouldn't that would have been it for your friendship or relationship?
I don't think that would have been it for it. Like, it wouldn't have completely ended. I'm not really the kind of guy. Maybe you saw it in the show too. I tend not to hold grudges. I'm definitely a believer in, like, people deserve a second chance depending on the nature of the mistake they've made. But I'm usually the kind of person that believes in giving second chances. And in the situation and the dynamic that we were in, being in the house is a little different than anything I've been a part of. So I would have been very upset. Maybe not talk to her at the rat party or a weekend away in Barrie and all that. But I think I would have came around eventually and said, actually, you know what, this is a great girl, and it was a game move. But it would have been very difficult for me.
All right. I have a very important question from someone in the chat room called Jesse from BB Canada 6, who I believe will be live on Reddit after this show. So follow him on Twitter, Jesse BBCan6, to check out his Reddit after this show's over. But Jesse wants to know, Derek and Jesse for Amazing Race or Derek and Kayla for Amazing Race?
Oh man, I made a promise to my boy Jesse early in the game when we were in the hot tub. We had talks about going on Amazing Race together, and I really wanted to do that, but I think that was a little early before my relationship really flourished with Kayla. And I don't know, Jesse, you never won a single competition, man. So if I want to win Amazing Race, I got to go with Kayla, don't I?
Pretty much. But he's very woke now.
He is very woke. He's been woke for a while.
He's been woke for a while. I think he might understand now in his wokeness.
Yes.
He might be winning. Name Dropper 5000 says, why did it seem like early on you did not like the Ding Dongs, Liv and Allie?
Early on, we had just heard from Ryan and a few other people that they had been talking about wanting to get us out. I think Ryan kind of wanted to pit us against each other in his, well, I guess his only HOH win when that was early on the season, week 2. But and Allie just came across. She was giving us these weird stares. I could tell her she was trying to listen to our conversations. We had heard from a few different people that they wanted to put us up on the block. They were talking about it. So we honestly kind of got pitted against each other on false information. And if it wasn't honestly for Kayla being upfront like she is and just calling him up and like, hey, what's going on? And I mean, I'm sure everyone saw the scene where Veronica and Will were in the bathtub and Hamza was questioning Olivia. So they were both in the bathtub in the HOH, and they're like, yeah, we heard Olivia talking about you too and all that stuff. We were in the room, man. Like, we're not lying. And then we found out later, like, Olivia really didn't talk about us. So we thought Allie and Olivia had both, but they were kind of swayed into it. You know, Ryan had a way with words to be like, yeah, Allie, would they be a target in this kind of thing? And, you know, getting her to say yes, but it wasn't really her words. So he was good at being able to do that. So it was one of those things where we kind of pitted against each other over false information. But once we got past that and created kind of this alliance, we were like, hey, we really like these two. Like, this can be good. Like, no, they're trustworthy. They're great. So.
All right. I love it. Now, speaking of people that you worked with at times in the game.
Yes.
We had Paris on the show the other day, and she has a question that she wanted me to ask you.
Does she? Okay.
Why are you talking so bad about me, Derek?
Why am I talking so bad about her?
I will say this. I'll take the question from Lost and Reality TV. Says, were you joking when you said that you had a better social game than Paris? So that's kind of like a little bit what Paris said. She's like, I've been hearing Derek's been talking about me, saying his social game is so much better than mine. I'm going to have to talk to him about that when I see him. So she's like, you better ask him that. So Derek, do you believe you had a better social game than Paris?
I don't think my social game was better than hers, but I wouldn't consider it to be worse. I mean, obviously, I got on the Instagram Live. I wanted to have fun with people. I like to, I don't think people saw too much of the side of me where I like to chirp and have some fun with people and kind of, I enjoy stirring the pot a little bit in my own way. And I wouldn't say making things up, but I do think her social game was put on more of a pedestal than it really ever was, compared to mine and compared to Kayla. And even after watching the show back, I did a lot of relationship building personally with a lot of people, and I didn't have to put my foot in my mouth making alliances with everyone because Kayla was doing that on my behalf. Kayla was making these alliances and just gaining people's trust for me. So I didn't really have to go and do that. So I was like, why would I create all these alliances and put that kind of onus on me when I can just create really good personal relationships with everybody and use that moving forward? And the other reason I kind of said that, and I guess you can argue it either way, is, pretty much throughout the entire show, Paris had all these alliances, but Kayla and I knew which alliances she was in because we were in a lot of the same ones with her. So it was kind of like, oh yeah, I was the third of every alliance. I worked my social game with all these different people, and Kayla and I are kind of looking at each other laughing and be like, we're in the same alliances as you are with all of them. And we know you're with Allie and Liv because they're telling us about it. We're with Erica. She's telling us about it. She was kind of our ears in the white room, and then we had ears in the red room. So we kind of knew everything that was going on with Paris the entire time, but we just never targeted her because we thought she was weaker player to put on the block. You thought it would be a waste to send her home, you know?
Right. I want to take a question over from Twitter from BBFan55, and they say, did anything surprise you when you watched the season back? Is there anyone's game who you did not like?
Did anything surprise me? Yeah, I was surprised that Maddie got so much diary room time, and I didn't. What's going on, big brother? I had a lot of fun in the diary room, but I guess not a lot of it got shown, and they have to pick and choose what gets shown on the episode. So I think people that watch live feeds probably have a better idea of who I am and everything that kind of happened on the show. But I thought Maddie was a very quiet player throughout of it. I mean, she was strategic, but I guess they just like the waterworks. You know, she cried when she was happy, when she was sad. She kind of cried about just about everything, and you know, maybe that was good for TV, but for me, when I watched back, I was actually surprised that I wasn't on as much as I thought I would be, especially with the Showmance. From what I hear, Showmances are pretty heavily aired on the episodes, and I can understand just from watching the episodes why people thought Kayla and I didn't have this connection that we had based off of just viewing the episodes. But we did lots of cute, fun stuff together that really didn't get showed, and I was a little disappointed. But
I mean, yes, I agree with you. I think the episodes didn't really focus on your Showmance, but I think it's because you didn't have a very like PDA-ish.
yeah,
I think the show needs to see it in order for it to be, I guess, for it to be a storyline. But
yeah.
if it makes you feel any better, sometimes it annoyed us, Derek. The feeds were 24/7 Derek and Kayla.
Were they?
So
okay, that makes me feel better.
Maybe I'm not supposed to say this, but go on YouTube and watch the feeds. It was like 24/7 Derek and Kayla most of the time. It was all Showmance all the time on the feeds. So maybe the show kind of like split it a little bit that way and put more of you guys on the feeds. But I feel like it was always on you guys and the feeds. I mean, not just because of your Showmance, but also because I think you guys were the comp winners.
Yeah, and it just seemed there was a lot of conversations about me. You know, Will, Maddie, and Paris. When should we cut Derek? Kayla talking about. You know, there were so many people that were talking about me, but there wasn't a lot of my reciprocation to people talking about me. I didn't think there was a lot of my opinion, but it kind of is what it is. It's just funny to see so many people talking about me, and then me just kind of hanging out. What is part of what it looks like?
Well, now, speaking of comps and speaking of Maddie, let's talk about one of your controversial moments from the season.
Yes.
Where you talked that I can't even ask the question of did you cheat off Maddie, because you were on the feed saying I cheated off Maddie. So what do you want to say about that? Like, I think there are a lot of Maddie fans that were upset about that. We did ask Maddie about it when she was on, and she said all's fair in the game. That was a smart move that Derek did. So what do you want to say about it?
No, and I completely agree with what Maddie said. And honestly, that's what my strategy turned into, because the first couple of rounds, I was coming in last. Like, I was just making the cut before, I knew Johnny and Maddie were getting the answers quicker than I was. So, but I knew I could be a little bit faster. And honestly, it's one of those things where you have to be very quick and thinking on your toes. Like, I knew the information, but it just wasn't coming to me. Right. But I knew Maddie was so smart. I knew I was faster than her. So I was just like, hey, I'll kind of pretend I'm looking through this photo garden, but really use my peripherals to see what's going on with Maddie. So my strategy changed from I'm going to run and get the first photo that I know is right really fast, so I'll be one up on her, and then I'll kind of see what else she takes throughout the entire competition. But I honestly don't think it's cheating, because it's in the Big Brother house, and you got to find different ways to win. And honestly, sometimes it's not about being the smartest, it's about being able to outsmart other people. And if that means having to peek over and see what they're doing in a competition, it's no different than like in Tomb Raider. If you watch closely in the episode, you'll see Hamza is watching exactly how Erica's putting her puzzle together. Exactly. because he couldn't figure it out. So it's no different than me looking over and seeing like, hey, how is their puzzle going together? I need to figure mine out, because you're standing beside each other. So right. It's not like you're kind of cheating on a math test, right? It's a different dynamic. And even the part where I was standing up on the top of the slide, I was standing there and Maddie was behind me, and we were both looking at the screen, kind of making sure we had the last
Right.
photo aligned with the one in the photo garden. And I just said, hey, Maddie, like, let me know when you want me to slide down because I don't want to hold you up. I kind of said that to her over my shoulder. And then she's like, okay, go, go, go. And then as I came down to the bottom of the slide, that's when I saw the last photo of Hamza that I needed. And I was like, okay. And we both saw it at the same time and I just grabbed it and I was just quicker at the end. So for me, I don't think it was cheating, although people may think it's controversial. Again, it's in Big Brother and you got to figure out ways to win, even if you can't.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I completely agree. I mean, and Kayla kind of defended you on this as well. You guys can watch the Kayla show back. We did it yesterday, but she kind of said that was one of the moments when she was very proud of your game because she saw how you did come into this as someone who didn't know the game, but then you kind of started learning these little things that Big Brother super fans would know to do or would think to do in these situations.
And those are the things I kind of picked up on as well. And even, in a lot of the mental competitions, because there's so many, we had like true and false and before and after. I didn't necessarily know every single answer, but I figured out kind of a backdoor way to get the answer. Like one of the biggest ones in the before and after competition that I won, it was who was out of the competition or who was asked for the question first, Marin or Hamza in the 1, 2, 3. And in my head, I had no idea, but I'm like, okay, everyone knows that Marin's not the smartest in the house and everyone wants Hamza out. So he definitely was asked first to go up. So I was able to figure out questions. And that was the same thing in the triple eviction. Like no one took the time to get to know Marin well enough to know that that is something he would say. And right away I was like, Jesse would never say blood brothers. And Marin would definitely say blood brothers. So I honestly didn't remember what had happened, but I just knew those guys so well that I knew the answer, right? So it's kind of about finding your way to the answer, not even necessarily have to know it. So as much as I did study, I was able to kind of figure it out a different way. So
right, it was great watch. Like honestly, it really was. I think not super fans get not a bad rap, but I think don't get as much love as a super fan gets. But
yeah,
it's also it is interesting to watch how someone that doesn't really know the game progresses through the game to the end. And I think you were a very good example of that. I think a lot of people loved rooting for you because of that during the season, if that makes sense.
No, it's great. It's awesome to be able to kind of learn and grow the whole way and really see the difference of who I was in week 1 all the way to the end.
Oh, well, we're going to get to that in a minute. Lana K wants to know, but do you think being in a Showmance hurt your social game at all?
I've been thinking a lot about that because, if I came into the house and didn't get into the Showmance, I would just be this guy that doesn't know much about the game and hasn't won any competition. So maybe I wasn't much of a threat and I could have just went around and got personally good with everyone on a social level. I mean, entering the Showmance with Kayla did put a target on our back right away, but it didn't hurt my social game because right away I knew that like by the end of week 1, Kayla had told me she's a super fan. She's watched every American season, every Canadian season. She's told me she's got like a psychology degree. She plays all these sports like rugby and hockey and all this stuff. So I'm sitting there at the end of week 1 being like, oh my God, like this is my person. Not only was it strategic getting into this, but I like her and she's really cool and she's going to be able to help me out a lot. And she's telling me how she's up front. She'll call people out and do all this kind of stuff. And I was like, amazing. So, I'll play this good cop, bad cop. She's going to go around making the alliances, kind of being loud and proud, doing all this kind of stuff. And I'm just going to hang back, get socially good with everybody and let Kayla be the target. And she was completely the target out of the two of us up until I started winning in week 7. And then people are like, oh, Derek has to go.
Okay. You got this question a lot. I'm going to take it from Christine B, who wants to know, all right, Derek, so we know that you were going to take Kayla in the end. You were going to take Kayla all the way. But what if you knew 100% that by taking her, it meant second place? Would you still take her?
If taking Kayla meant second place, 100%, I still would have taken her just through the talks we've had because, at the end of the day, we just said if we both get to final 2, that is winning. To be able to stand there and like I was pushing And from what I've heard and what she told me, it would have been history for a Showmance to actually make it to Final Two together. It's never happened in Big Brother history. When I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, winning the show is cool, but making history doesn't happen very often, and it very rarely repeats itself. So I have a chance to make history here. So if I would have lost to Kayla, there's no one else in the house that I would have wanted to lose to more, as weird as that sounds, than Kayla. Because we would have taken the trip to Europe together. We would have been able to stand there and say, we evicted the entire jury. I still would have won 20 grand. It would have been awesome. And we would have been able to stand there and say, we made Big Brother history. We were a showmance, not since day 3, week 2, day 6, since day 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have taken the loss for sure.
I will say, it is Big Brother Canada history. It has only happened one time in the US, but it was like, I think season 2. It was Mike, Boogie, and what's-her-face.
So it's forgotten already then.
It's forgotten already. It's forgotten already.
So at least history in Canada, and something that's very rare. So, but either way, I wouldn't have changed anything for that. I would have lost to her for sure.
Okie dokie. But Lost in King Cruz says a very important question. Which is harder to understand now that you've played the game? So what is harder to understand? The game of Big Brother, or Will talking?
That's actually a tough question because, I mean, he did call Rosina New Zealand, and I was able to figure the game out pretty quickly, but yeah, honestly, once you spend enough time with Will, it starts just to catch on. You can kind of hear pieces of what he's saying, and you're able just to put it together. So definitely it's harder to figure out the Big Brother game just because there is so many different angles for different moves you can make and who goes on the block and why, and, you know, POVs and backdooring people and social game personally and, you know, game-wise. So there's just a million different angles, and that's why it's like, oh, how do you pass time in the house? You can literally just sit there and think about how things can go every different way.
Right.
So I'd be thinking about that more than I'd be thinking about how to try and understand Will talk. So definitely the game.
Okay, the game. Whitney Watson wants to know, what do you think of the clip of Johnny saying that he wants to sharpen his fangs and sink them into your neck?
I absolutely love it. Johnny is my favorite. We clicked right off the beginning, and I think the funny thing about it is I had no idea how bad he wanted one of us out, and I think specifically me later on in the show. And he played the perfect, nice, harmless gay guy all season long, and he talked about it too. And then honestly, when he walked into the catacombs and broke that conversation up, I thought he was joking, Eric. I didn't know he had that side. And then all of a sudden he's like, I'm here for the drama. Like, this is me, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, damn, Johnny, like, I never saw this side of you. You never let it out to me. So when I got to kind of see that stuff back, I was like, good. Like, he was here to play. I love it. I want some competition. So I don't take any offense to it at all. I think it's great. He was there for the drama, and I just love him as a person.
My favorite moment, I'm pretty sure my favorite moment of the entire season was you saying to him, what are you, a public speaker? And he's like, that's right, I'm in public and I'm speaking, bitch.
Yeah.
And then he was like, calm down, guy lights.
I know. There was just like nothing I could say. He was just going off. There was no person in the house that was going to win a conversation battle with Johnny at all. So I was just kind of sitting there trying to throw some jabs in there, because I still wanted to not create a big enemy, because I was trying not to burn bridges, right? Because I had a really good conversation about jury management with Ryan earlier on in the season, and I was learning more about it. And he was just saying how, as much as people don't want to be bitter, most of the jury is bitter. And once I learned about that, that's when I was like, okay, I got to keep my composure. I don't want to blow up. I don't want to, create too much animosity with people. So I was trying to create these, almost make fun out of situations like that. Be like, who do you think you are, and this and that. But he was just going off, and he was so adamant about everything he was saying. I literally had no comeback. I just had to sit there and be like, well, he's got me.
He's got you. All right, well, now, it's Carly Wade, I just see in the chat room, says right now, speaking about Johnny, do you think that working with Johnny would have been good for your game? Like, if you could have really locked him in. I know you guys kind of worked at
Yeah.
times in and out in the game, but if you would have been like made him part of your ride or die with Kayla, do you think that would have been good for your game?
Um, if we could have found honest trust 100%,
Mm-hmm.
I think it could have been good for our game because besides Paris winning, I know Kayla and I won 9 of the last 13 competitions, but before Paris won her comps late in the game, the only people that were winning competitions were me, Kayla, and Johnny from week 6 on. It was just the three of us winning competitions. So if we actually stuck together, we could have made it all the way to the end because I know Johnny was smart. He made it far in mental competitions. He had such a huge heart, like his belly was full of fire every time he got in comps. He's one of those guys that he would just leave it all out in the playing field. So I knew he had a good chance winning any kind of competition it was. So that's why I wanted him out so bad because he was my biggest competition to lose to. So I just couldn't find that trust with him, And if we would have, I think he definitely could have benefited our game because maybe it would have taken a little heat off Kayla and I as well.
Okay, I agree. Old Broad wants to know, does Derek regret anything he did while in the house? And if so, what?
I've been thinking a lot about that, and it's hard to say that I really regret anything. So it's like, oh, this person could have left over this person, or I could have made a different move here, or if I would have won this competition. But at the end of the day, the fact that I was able to make it all the way to the final 3, I can't really say that I regret anything specifically because I made the entire show. So if there was anything I regret, it would be not being able to win one of the final stages in the HOH. So I could have at least given myself a shot at making the final 2.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, my biggest regret was I didn't bring flip-flops in the house. So I wouldn't have had any sock problems if I didn't bring sandals, and I didn't want to wear shoes all the time. So that's why I ran around in socks because I didn't want to wear shoes because my feet got too hot. So I wish I would have brought flip-flops.
Now, Derek, have you sent Marin socks yet for the ones that I watched you steal from his bag?
I haven't. I hung out with him yesterday, and I guess he doesn't know about that. So if we can keep that between me and you, then
I will not do any such thing. I am
I know you
texting
wouldn't.
Marin right now. Done. Question from BB Can Superfan 41 on Twitter wants to know, if you did not have Kayla, who do you think you would have aligned with in the game? And you got this question from a ton of people.
I feel like it's obvious to say that I would have aligned with Jesse because I guess we already were aligned. But knowing that he wanted me out early on kind of sucks, but I honestly would have loved to align with Johnny. Like going back to that, I think we would have worked very, very well together.
Mm-hmm.
Either Johnny or Erica. I developed a very, very good personal relationship with Erica. We spent from day 6 to day 20, the first 2 weeks that have-nots could be have-nots. We spent those 2 weeks together, and it really brings you together, being on the slop together, sleeping in catacombs and all that kind of stuff. So I built such a strong personal relationship with Erica. I didn't talk a lot of game with her, but if I could have aligned with Erica, I think we really could have went off as well, winning competitions. She was so smart. I agree with everyone, too, that she was taken a little too early, but it was that move that we had to make. So, but I would have loved to work with either Johnny or Erica because I think, they were really players. But
Okay.
I could even throw Hamza out there. We've kind of talked about that too. And I was like, man, he was one of my biggest competition threats as well. It wasn't a lot of physical stuff. I don't know how well he would have done in the mental, but he was there to play. And if he didn't want to stir the pot, if he wanted to work with me, Hamza and I could have done some damage as well.
I love it. Brandy C wants to know, when you realized Johnny was being serious, did you realize that Johnny was being serious when he walked in on you and Paris, and what did you really say to him?
Are you talking about in the catacombs?
I have no idea. I'm going to assume it is the catacombs.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
it would have to be. I think it's all on the live feeds. You can see the whole conversation on the tube there if you watch that. So the first couple minutes, I didn't think he was serious, but then when he came in and started being like, "You threw Paris under the bus. You said all these bad things about her. Derek's trying to campaign for Kayla. Like, I can't believe you're believing him." And then when he started saying that, I'm like, okay, this has gone too far. But again, in that moment, I didn't want to say anything that could kind of really tarnish the relationship with him, because I had that chat with Ryan about jury management, and I was like, hey, if I can keep my composure, because I mean, there was a lot of times, Eric, where I just wanted to stand up and start yelling in people's face and be like, no, listen here, blah, 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 like you're a liar and this and that. And, but I just knew that that would hinder my possible jury votes further in the game if I did do that. Because I knew everybody else was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Will and Ryan arguing. Ryan argued with Maddie. Maddie and Paris fought. Will fought with everyone. Kayla was fighting with everyone. And I'm just standing here looking at everyone arguing with each other. And I'm like, hey, I'm not burning any bridges. As much as people might not want to vote for me in the end, they kind of are going to have to because they can't find a reason not to like me. And that was part of my game.
Darcy Saint Amant wants to know, you make your own clothes and you have your own clothing line. Can you tell us about the charity that your clothing line donates to? I think you talked about it a little bit on the feeds.
Yeah, so it's like Vancouver Without the Vowels, so it's BNCVR. I started a couple years ago. Sell mostly hats. We do some T-shirts and stuff that are branded as well, some crop tops and tanks. And we donate 10% of all of our sales to the BC Children's Hospital.
I love it.
And that kind of just spawned from this book I read, which was like kind of discover your why and who you are. And I've had such an amazing childhood growing up and been able to be involved in sports and grow up in a middle class and be in a small town and just had strength and having so many amazing friends growing up that I wanted to be able to support the kids that possibly might not be able to have that. So that's why we chose that as our charity. It's just, kids are the future. We wanted that to be the backbone of the company. And that's where that came from.
I feel like we should start singing We Are the World.
Yeah.
No, seriously, as we do a lot for charity here too, and I love that. I love when you guys come off of a show and do things for charity. I love that you were doing it before you even got on the show, so I think that is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, and I was so happy when, because I didn't really talk about it, but it was obviously part of my plan. If I wanted to donate a good portion of my winnings to charity. And then, when Paris said that as soon as she came out of the house and we kind of chatted, and she's like, yeah, I'm going to donate X amount of money to charity. I was like, you know what, Paris, I'm even happier that you won and you saying that, because that's amazing that you're actually going to do that. Because people talk about, I want a car, I want this, I want that. And it's, it's all things, but to be able to create change is the best part about being on the show. And I was so happy when Paris told me that.
Brentwood13 wants to know, why do you think Johnny was so stuck on getting the Showmance out? There was a trio and other duos in the house that were just as loyal to each other as you and Kayla.
I think because Johnny honestly viewed us as the biggest threat, but I know for a fact that early in the game, he didn't want us out necessarily because we were the biggest threat. He wanted to get rid of one of us so that he could pull the other one in and work with that person. So I think he viewed both of us as strong players, and we had a good relationship with him because we kind of made an alliance with him in his HOH week 1 and said, hey, the three of us feel really good together. So in his mind, he's like, hey, if I can break them up, then I can pull the other one in, and then I can have a strong duo with them while he has his other alliances. So yeah, there was a lot of other really strong alliances in the house, but I think he wanted to really work with one of the two of us and not both of us, unfortunately. So he wanted to break that up. And then as, we moved further in the game, we started winning. Then he's like, okay, now they're winning and they're really strong. So I really got to get rid of them. Whereas none of the other people were winning.
Okay. Do you believe, you got this question a lot from a bunch of people too, not do you believe, but if Kayla had used the POV during triple eviction, who of the trio would you have wanted to go home?
That's a really good question. Because I got that question before about, if Kayla would have went home and I won, I said that I was probably going to put up like Johnny, Will, and Paris. Right. And to be honest, as much as I love her, and it's tough because sometimes you battle back and forth between personal game moves and game moves. I knew Maddie was smart, but I also knew Paris was smart. But the fact that Paris said she controlled the votes and it was her that was convincing Will and Maddie. But I knew if Kayla would have went home, it was Paris's doing. So if Kayla would have won the veto and we would have had send someone home, it was probably going to be between Paris or Maddie. We wanted to take Will to the end all along because I've said this before and I say it again. He was easy to win against. He was playing week to week. He wasn't good in any competition. So he was in our dream final three. It was me, Will, and Kayla because we knew we could have beat him. So we would have wanted to keep bringing Will forward with us. So it would have been between Maddie and Paris at that point in time.
Okay. Lindsay wants to know, speaking of like personal versus game, how did you feel about Kayla telling you that you guys needed to vote out Jesse? He's gone, you can be honest now. Telling you that you needed to vote out Jesse because it needed to be done for your guys' game. Did you agree with her logic? Was there any part of you that was holding back?
I was definitely holding back. At the beginning of the game, I was definitely more emotional because for me, like I said to Kayla too, it takes quite a bit for me to let somebody kind of in. So when I make a really good friend, like I did with Jesse, and then when I make a relationship like I did with Kayla, I just don't kind of let anybody in and, break my walls down like that. So I really was not for it at all. And I remember arguing with Kayla too, because she was like, yeah, we're going to work with Ali and Liv. And I was like, no, like they don't like us. We don't like them. We can't work with them. But then she just kind of sat there and was like, Derek, I know this game. I understand it. And I just put my trust in her. And she said, hey, dude, if you want to play this game, if you want to be here for a while, you got to shut those emotions off. And I was just like, okay, I trust you. And I said, I'm still voting for Jesse because I can't not vote for him. But if you're going to make this alliance and do this on the side, and I was like, if you know he's going home and this is going to be a good move for us, then do it. And she knew that. And that was one of the biggest factors in my game that helped me so much was that week with Kayla being like, this is how you have to play, man. And it's got to be this way. And I just said, okay. And from there on in, that's exactly what I did.
All right. What was your favorite competition that you got to play in, and what was your least favorite competition that you got to play in?
To be honest, even though I lost, I had so much fun playing in the second stage HOH final competition. It was just so cool to see all the faces of the past house guests and to be able to build that pyramid on the way up. And Kayla and I had just studied so much together at that point in time. I was very confident. I knew a lot. I was running around. It was a lot of fun to be able to, because it was basically like a recap of the season, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm building this pyramid with the faces of all my best friends that I just made over the past 2 months, kind of recapping everything that we all got to do together. So at the end of it, I remember just sitting on the pyramid being like, that was so cool, being able to build this pyramid of memories that I had in the house with all these people. So I really loved and enjoyed playing in that one. It was so much fun. And sorry, what was the second part of that question?
Which was your least favorite?
I didn't know I was that bad at balancing. So the first stage of the HOH, I was absolutely livid in. I'm not going to lie, I haven't even watched the finale episode yet. I've watched up to it, but I haven't brought myself to watch the finale yet. Okay. So I know how mad I was. That and the air transit when I went out in the first stage, because those champagne glasses just kept falling over and I'm like, okay, I'm a server. This is supposed to be so easy for me. So it was the two things where I had to balance objects and I just wasn't good at it. I was a little bit shaky and it was more frustrating than fun to play in those, like when I played in Under Fire and, some of those other competitions, it was a little bit more fun to play in, whereas those ones, it was more the frustrations was setting in. It wasn't the fun. So, any chance you get to have fun when you're playing, even though there's stress involved, is when you have the best time, really.
Okay. Demetrius H has a little bit of a shady question. He says, I want Derek to say who he believes played the worst game now watching the season back. Who do you think played the worst game? And you don't have to answer if you don't want to.
Oh, no, I'm here to answer. I like answering this kind of stuff. I think it's fun to mix it up now. And, me, I feel like I know a lot more about the show, obviously, coming off than I did now. But I said it since, week 2. Andrew, my man, I had a great conversation with him. We really got along, but he just played too hard, too fast. He created a huge target on himself early in the game for no reason at all. I understand why he wanted to flip the house and get Ali out because she was a bigger competitor, but like I said to him early in the game, I said, man, it's a numbers game. There's no point. Like, let's just relax. It's week 2. And then he went up on the block right away. He got in a little confrontation with Johnny. He was very argumentative. He brought all of the guys into the white room and was like, look me in the eye, shake my hand. Like, let's make this alliance, like make this happen. He was very, he was very abrupt and upfront about the way his game style was. So
Mm-hmm.
I think Andrew just played way too hard, way too fast. Unfortunately, he was a big, nice, giant teddy bear. I think he could have gone a lot further if he didn't play the style of game that he played.
All right. TP4 Nat says, were you surprised that you were the only vote for Kayla?
Yeah, I was surprised, honestly. I thought she would get Allie and Liv for sure. I was pretty confident in that. I knew for sure that Maddie and Will were going to be voting for Paris. I figured Johnny was going to be on the fence, but I thought he might lean towards Paris just because him and Kayla had such a animosity between each other the entire end of the season. Ryan, obviously, he had kind of this father-daughter relationship with Paris where they got along. So I didn't think there was anything, Kayla could really sway to swing Ryan. But Allie and Liv, we love them personally. And, we had this deal up into the triple, but there was a good chance we would have brought all ourselves to the Final Four if we could. So I was very shocked when Allie and Liv voted for Paris. I thought, Paris did bring it in the final two speech. So I think there was a mix of that and the bitterness of the jury. But yeah, I thought one of the two of them for sure would have voted in Kayla's way, just after the game she played. But I guess not.
Okay, do you think that gameplay or jury votes are more important to winning? And what do you think influenced the jury this season?
Now that I've been a part of the game and I've learned kind of about jury management and all that stuff, I think there's kind of two sides to the game. There's some people that say, just based on gameplay alone, Kayla should win. But do you include jury management as a part of that gameplay or do you not? So there's two different ways of viewing it. For me, I included it in my game because I was like, hey, people think that there's bitter juries. It happens all the time. So I'm going to include that as a part of my gameplay. So my game as a whole was including jury management. And that's why I might have looked so much like a piece of furniture, quote unquote, because I wasn't in getting on the arguments and all that kind of stuff because I didn't want any reason for anybody to be like, that's why I'm voting Derek out. So I think jury management might weigh a little bit heavier than gameplay in general because, Paris did win some competitions, but she didn't win as much as Kayla. I don't think she made as many moves as Kayla. I think Kayla's social game was just as strong in an even more vulnerable position than Paris's was. So even though her game was so much stronger, it was the jury that killed her in the end. So yeah. I think there's a way that you can get through the game playing very simple and winning the jury over will win in the end. So jury management is huge.
I definitely agree with you. I definitely agree that jury management is the most important. I don't know if and Kayla and I talked about this yesterday. I don't know if I would say that Kayla's jury management was as good as Paris's or she would have won. But
no, it definitely wasn't. No. But again, like when Allie got evicted and then Liv left right after, they were both yelling at Paris, being like,
right.
You swore that you were going to keep Allie. Kayla was going home. You do not have my vote. Blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And they end up voting for her in the end, right? So, yep. I mean, that was a big part of the final two speech. So
it was. Little Big Red wants to know, would you have shaved your head to gain the POV? So I think it was when it got to the end of the game and there was that, is this going to be a shave your head POV? Would you have done that to win the POV?
I can't remember exactly what position I was in at that point.
Let's say you were in danger.
If I was on the block, oh God, I don't know. I've worked so hard to grow my hair out.
It grows back, Derek.
I mean, it's such a superficial answer to be like, no, I wouldn't shave my head. It's kind of in the moment thing, but it would be a cool thing to be remembered by, to be able to do that too and be a game player. So as much as I love my hair, you know what? I'd probably do it.
All right.
Just kind of say, screw it. I'm on the block. I got to pull myself off. It's Final Five. This is Big Brother. And I came in not knowing much about the show. I'm going to do it.
First of all, I cannot even believe, you still have a million questions here. We only have about 10 minutes left if you're good with that. Are you good spending another 10 minutes answering questions?
I got nowhere to be and nothing to do right now, Eric, so we can do this as long as you're around.
All right, good then. I will try and get through some more of these questions then. Let me remind everybody really quickly though. Become a fan here on You Now so that you're alerted every time we go live. Like I said, tomorrow Johnny, Will is next week. I will tell you it's Tuesday next week. I don't know why I'm keeping that a secret. And the number one fan is gonna win a Skype call from Derek at the end of the show. Okay. Let me go over to Starlet7 wants to know, why did you not bring Marin into your alliance?
Like just with Kayla and I simply,
I guess, yeah.
If it was after, I mean, obviously he was super close with Hamza, so we had that kind of issue. And we had heard from other people that early in the game, Marin did want us to go. And I mean, I saw that as well, because Hamza was obviously planting seeds in his heads for things that he wanted to do. But we didn't really want to bring him in because we had so much going on that he was kind of just, he was the perfect floater, right? He was the perfect pawn. So we didn't really need him allegiance-wise. We just knew that if we could get with him very well personally, and Kayla kind of joked, she's like, oh, you know, when I went in Catacombs with Marin, I told him we're going to be best friends by the time we get out of this. And they were, and she built that relationship on her own very good personally. So, and I kind of came into that after, and we just had so much fun together. We didn't even have to talk a lot of game. We just kind of knew we had each other's back. So we didn't want to make anything official because it was also scaring Erica, because Erica at that point in time was like, oh my God, like Marin can go up against anybody on the block. He's got to go home because he's just going to float right to final two, and he could get there above all of us. So that's why Erica wanted Marin gone so bad the week where it was Marin versus Ryan on the block. So we didn't want Erica to know that we were actually very close with Marin, because we didn't want to throw the alliance off, the repair five, me, Erica, Allie and Liv and Kayla. We wanted to keep that as tight as possible. So, we didn't want to be too official with Marin.
Okay. What was it like? You got this from a bunch of people too. What was it like going head to head with Kayla in part 2 of the final HOH? Was that bittersweet? Was there ever a moment you thought maybe maybe it is good for me to throw this to her, or it would be better for one of the two of you to win it to go up against Paris?
Yeah, I would have taken the chance just to throw that competition to her. I knew she was worried that anything that I had to do that was mental, I was better at, which kind of it was proven throughout the season. So if there was any comp I was possibly going to throw to her in the final HOH, it would have been the first one, but it ended up being kind of a balance and physical. It wasn't like an endurance one, which I hear is kind of what always happens in the past. It's hang on for dear life until someone drops or whatever. So that's the one I maybe would have thrown to her, because I felt like I could have beat Paris for sure in the second stage. But yeah, it was definitely bittersweet going up against her, because we were hoping that we would meet in the final stage of the HOH and be able to play each other and just know, hey, whatever happens, we bring each other, so it doesn't matter. But I still really wanted to win, and I believed I could beat her. But at the end of the day, I couldn't be super upset at her beating me. I did as well as I could. I truly believed that I thought I was faster than her. I did so well. But at the end of the day, the time was proven that I wasn't. So it was bittersweet. It sucks losing to anyone. It sucks trying your best and not being good enough is a bad feeling, but it was okay with her.
Okay. I see Great Dane Mom wants to know, are you going to watch any past seasons now of Big Brother Canada or BBUS?
Yeah, I feel like I want to watch season 5 because people keep saying about that season. I kind of want to watch, we got these other power showmances like Jilly and Emmett in season 1. I'd like to see how they were compared to us. I'd like to see, the Ika Dimitri in season 5. So there's a few that I want to see. I don't know if I'll watch entire seasons because I want to tune into BB20 now when this pops up. So I'm looking forward to that. But I definitely want to look back to compare my game to other people that have played in similar situations to Kayla and I, and just see what else has happened.
Steph 2 Ohio wants to know, when you asked Will to drop during the veto comp, how surprised were you, or were you not surprised at all, that Will listened to you?
To be honest, I wasn't completely surprised. That was something where Will had sworn kind of on a family member type thing. So I believed he wouldn't actually use the veto if he had won it. But I know that if he did win it, that Maddie and Paris were going to be all over him to pull me off or to pull one of them off and put me up to send me home. And I mean, we all know that Will can be easily swayed. He was the biggest flip-flopper either way. I'm voting Johnny out. Okay, never mind. I had a conversation with Allie. Now I'm voting Ryan out. He just continued to go back and forth all season long. He could never really, I feel like Will never really made too many decisions on his own. It was always kind of other people helping him decide what he wanted to do. So when he jumped down, for a second, I was like kind of surprised. And I looked at Kayla. I'm like, no, week to week. So I knew if I can give him a good enough offer, something that I could sway it and just say it in the right way, Will would jump down, because he did the same thing in Button Up with Kayla. When he thought he had to deal with her, he walked off again, right? So I think Will was kind of playing for second place, to be honest. I don't think he was playing for first place.
Okay, if Kayla couldn't have been, like, if you and Kayla could not have been the winners of this season, who would you have wanted to see win the season?
Would have loved to see my homegirl Erica win. She was badass. She made some moves. She was super smart. I remember anytime I talked to her and be like, yeah, when did this happen? She'd be like, day 17 or day 19, or just, she knew kind of everything about everything. And she was able to win physical, mental, all types of competitions. She was just a great person to be around conversationally. I loved her. I would have said that I wanted to see Johnny to win, but after I realized how bad he wanted me out, obviously I didn't want Johnny to win. So I would have loved to see Erica win.
Okay, what did you think was harder, the physical comps or the mental comps?
It's a difficult question because they're tough in their own ways. I feel like I was more stressed out in the mental competitions, but the physical competitions were more difficult body-wise. Like in Handle with Care, when we were in those little wooden boxes and we're basically crawling as fast as we can back and forth to collect the fruit. It was so hot. It was stifling in there. I mean, you're kind of on your hands and knees running back and forth. I got holes in my pants and everything. I remember getting out of the box after and being like, oh my God, that's the most tired I've ever been, just drenched in sweat. Even the physical stuff with fresh off the block, like hammering down on an ice cube, it might look not so difficult, but afterwards you're just like, oh my God, that took a lot out of me. So under fire for sure, wearing that nice get up, it was all the leather straps and everything. And, it was just so hot and it was such a long game. It was tough. So I think the physical one was more enduring tough, but the mental stuff was a lot more stressful.
Okay. What was the best part of playing Big Brother for you?
The best part about playing Big Brother for me, it was two things. It was the people in the house and discovering more about myself as a person. I'm kind of at a phase in my life where I really want to try and step outside my comfort zone and test myself as a person and push my own personal limits, whether it's trying to face a simple fear every day, or trying to face a big fear like bungee jumping or things like that. So for me, it was nice to be able to go in the house and say, you know what, I can live without my cell phone. I can live with just my imagination. I can do these things that I wasn't sure if I could do. I always thought I had the worst memory, and then I go in and I prove to myself, you can study, you can win mental competitions. And, it really proved to me that I'm able to take outside the house more of a belief in myself that I can do things that I put my mind to it. So I was super happy to be able to gain that. And I mean, on top of that, just being able to know that people are the most important thing in life over everything. It's not what you have, it's who you have. So those are the two biggest things I learned from Big Brother and that I'll really take away.
Okay. I want to ask you, what did you think? Now, we know that you know this postseason. I saw you retweet some of them, so assuming you're okay with it. What did you think of people calling you Wilson?
I think it's hilarious. Oh, I love it. I mean, obviously, I understand it now watching the episodes and everything back. Just, I wasn't really in a lot of the series up until the back half till I started winning, so it makes sense. And I just love my sister to death and the way she ran my Twitter account and was able to kind of, turning into something fun. And that's the kind of person I am is, unless you can make fun of yourself, I don't think you should be able to make fun of other people. So I'm one of those guys that I'm able to kind of poke fun at myself in different ways and be like, you know what, I kind of was Wilson in a few different ways. That's kind of how my game was. But I think it's all in good fun. And at the end of the day, I think it's just something fun to be able to rhyme with, the Beans, the Wilson, all that kind of stuff. It's laughable and it's great.
Well, I was going to say, Nicole, who I can't believe isn't here on this chat for some reason, she started the hashtag things or people that Derek looks like. So
really?
as you know, there's been a whole collection of people that you have looked like or things that she has thought that you have looked like. These are people. We also had a traffic cone when you wore the orange. The orange thing, we went with traffic cone. I believe we asked Olivia and she said a squirrel.
I'm sure you guys must have heard our conversations when we were doing animals and stuff. That was a lot of fun. Yeah.
But Derek, I'm gonna have one issue with it all.
What?
You do not look like my boyfriend Zac Efron.
That wasn't my doing.
Okay.
That was other people telling me this. As a server, I used to get it all the time from people coming in, but it was when I had shorter hair and I had a little more of my blonde highlight stuff was a little more prominent. People said it to me all the time, so I just started to run with it.
Okay. I want you to tell them, no, you're allowed to use all the other ones. It's not my boyfriend. Okay. I want to ask you last question, and then I think you have a surprise to everybody, but I want to ask you this last question first.
Okay.
You're a surprise visitor. Our town wants to know, can you tell us anything that you learned about yourself before you started, after you played this game that you didn't know about yourself before? So is there anything that you've come out of this experience learning about yourself that you might not have known before you started it?
Learning about myself. Yeah, definitely. I guess kind of continuing on to some of the things I said before was just that you're able to do things that you put your mind to. And if you believe in yourself and you believe in yourself enough, that you can do anything that you really want to do. And I know going into a lot of the competitions, I was huge into imagining myself winning, kind of vision, that you have a strong vision, envision yourself wearing the veto necklace and like all these weird things, kind of stuff like that. So coming out of the house, I really learned that it's important to believe in yourself because self-doubt is just going to absolutely crush you as a person, crush your soul. So you should never doubt yourself. Don't give up on things, right? If you apply for the show once, you don't get on, well, apply for it 2, 3, 4, 5 more times because you just never know when it's going to be the right time. So for me, I just learned both that I'm a lot mentally stronger than I thought I was.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably the biggest one is how important it is to be mentally aware of yourself and what's going on because it's so important. Mental health is such an important thing. Just as much as you want to go to the gym and lift weights, it's so important to think highly of yourself and be positive. And that's stuff that I brought out of the house as well.
All right, perfect. So Derek, do you have a surprise? Do you need a minute to go get your surprise that you have for everybody?
Yes.
Do you know what
your surprise 30 seconds.
Is? I can hide you while you go get your surprise.
Oh, no. On the way.
All right, here, ready? I'm just going to hide you for 1 second while you're... Go ahead. I can see you, so I'm ready when you're ready. And in the meantime, while we're waiting for that, I want to remind everybody, Johnny is going to be on tomorrow night. Will is going to be on Tuesday. You can see all of our past shows back over at yourrealityrecaps.com/bbcan. And now, without further ado, oh my God, guess who it is? It's Derek and Kayla!
What's up?
How are you guys doing?
We are fantastic.
Kayla,
now you can hear.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
What's up?
Kayla needs to hear.
Yeah.
She has to hear. Well, she's the one that won the 20,000. So I told her the ball's in her court to come visit me. So she came out just a couple days later.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you know what happened, Derek? Then she did this interview with this really amazing guy, and he said, no, the man pays, Kayla. I told her, you have to pay, Derek.
Oh my
You have
goodness.
to pay. you got your business.
Yeah, he was telling me for you to fly me out. I was like, no.
I bought lunch today.
All right, good. All right, Derek. Oh boy.
Gotta start somewhere.
You got it. That's a good start, Derek. Fine, it's a good start. So you, of course, got a ton of questions from people, but I'm just going to take this one from Amanda503. What plans do you guys have for this weekend? Anything that you want to share with anyone?
We got big plans. We actually got Jesse coming in from Saskatchewan tomorrow, along as Marin is our Edmonton boys. So the four of us are all going to hit the town tomorrow for a nice Friday night. And Saturday, we're doing a little appearance at the ranch. It used to be my old stomping grounds, the bar I used to go to. So besides that, I took Kayla for a nice bike ride around my hometown Beaumont today, and we had some patio drinks. So keeping it chill. And then next week, we're flying off to Vancouver, so she gets to see where I live.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
I think you guys are going to have so much fun together. Of course, fans want to know, now that they know that you're together, are you planning on doing any fan things while you're together?
Fan things?
Like, would you let's put it this way. Would you happen to tweet out, hey, we're going to be at this bar if anyone's around? I think is what people want to know. Like, will you do any fan meet and greets when you and Kayla and Jesse are all together this weekend?
Oh, if people are interested, absolutely. I want to hang out and meet everyone that's watched the show and supported us all season long. Seriously. We just want to drink, have some fun, and meet everyone that loves us. I don't know why we wouldn't, right?
Yeah, I'm totally up for it. You want to come hang out with us? Come hang out with us.
Send us a tweet, send us a DM. We'll let you know where we're at. It's going to be on our Instagram story, I'm sure.
All right. So there you go, everybody. All right. I know that you guys have a lot to do. We still have to go over to the patron show, but Derek and Kayla, I can put it to both of you. Is there anything that you guys want to say to all of your fans who are here watching you guys live right now?
Kayla?
You take it away. I said quite a bit.
No, I mean, just honestly, at the end of the day, thank you so much for the support. Thank you for everyone who believed in Dayla since day one. I know we weren't the most steamy showmance that's ever walked into the Big Brother house before, but we just had so much respect for each other, and we played really hard, and we're so happy to have people that believed in us all the way since day one till the end. I wish one of us could have got it done, but at the end of the day, your support and everyone out there, the fans, is what makes this show, and it's what means the world to us. And like I said, I'm just so happy to have been a part of it.
Okay, Derek, where do you want people to follow you on social media?
Definitely Instagram. I was never a big Twitter person, so I'm trying to figure it out. I think I'm going to start getting more into that. But
Okay.
I'm an Instagram guy. I love photography. I love, the fashion side of it and all that kind of stuff. They got the stories. They got everything fun on there. So I'm definitely a huge Instagram guy. But I'm going to start trying to get back on the Twitter.
All right, we're going to put all the links to Derek's social media below. Of course, all the links to Kayla's social media is over on her show from yesterday. Thank you guys so much. Congratulations, Sharon, who's the #1 fan on this show. Congratulations, Sharon. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Patrons, we'll see you guys in about 2 minutes. Bye for now, everybody. Bye, guys.
See ya.